czar of talk radio, The Michael Berry Show.
Oh, this is not going to end well, Ramon. Bob Woodward interviewed Donald Trump and managed to get Trump, in order to add to his story, to tell about when he was with Vince Lombardi. Here's the problem. He came out of Wharton in 70, the year Lombardi died. And this is a story about him coaching, which was years before, which would mean he wasn't an adult professional when he was supposedly hanging out with some players when Vince Lombardi walked in. Problem is, David Marinus, the Clinton biographer and an associate editor at Washington Post, has tracked down all of Trump's associates during that time, or has done backgrounds, and none of them were football players. Here's the interview. He asks Donald Trump, so when are you going to build a coalition to unite the Republican Party? And here's his answer. It's a very interesting answer. The coalition building begins, I believe, when it's decided who wins. Hopefully I'm going to win. The coalition building for me will be when I win. Vince Lombardi, I saw this. He was not a big man. And I was sitting in a place with some very, very tough football players. Big, strong football players. He came in. These are tough cookies. He came in years ago, and I'll never forget it. I was a young man. He came in screaming into this place and screaming at one of these guys who was 3 times bigger than him, literally. 3 times bigger than him would make the guy about 500 pounds, but that's okay. Literally. I don't think he knows what literally means. And very physical, grabbing him by the shirt. Now, this guy could have whisked him away and thrown him out the window in 2 seconds. This guy, the player, was shaking. A friend of mine, there were 4 players, and Vince Lombardi walked in. Notice how he gives details to make it seem more certain. He was angry, and he grabbed. I was a young guy. He grabbed him by the shirt, screaming at him. And the guy was literally, and I said, wow. And I realized the only way Vince Lombardi got away with that was because he won. This was after he had won so much, okay? And when you have these coaches that are just as tough as him, but they don't win, there's revolutions, okay? Nobody but Vince Lombardi was able to win. And he got, I've never seen anything like it. It was such a vivid impression. You had this big, powerful guy, and you had Vince Lombardi, and he grabbed him by the shirt, and he was screaming at him, and he was angry at him. Well, unfortunately now, you have people who know Vince Lombardi involved in the story. And now they're tracking down all the ways to prove that there's no way this was possible. Now, will a Trumpkin care that he made the story up? Nah, that's what winners do. Winners win. Donald Trump told us, by the way. He told us, and y'all didn't listen. He told us we were going to win so much that we were going to get tired of winning. Do you remember that? We were going to win so much that we were going to get tired of winning. But he wouldn't stop. He'd just keep on. We would beg him to stop winning, and he would just keep winning.
I can't hold my tongue. These kids are my grandchildren, and you are raising them wrong. They are terrible boys.
Shut up, Chip, or I'll go ape on your ass. I'm going to scissor kick you in the back of the head.
Yeah, turn up the heat.
Go on and get some, boys.
Come on.
Chip, I'm going to come at you like a spider monkey.
Like a spider monkey. Go on.
Chip, you brought this on, man.
Greatest generation, my ass. Tom Brokaw is a punk.
What is wrong with you?
Chip, I'm all jacked up on Mountain Dew.
I love that.
You gonna let your sons talk to their grandfather like that? I'm their elder.
I sure as hell am, Chip. I love the way they're talking to you. Because they're winners. Winners get to do what they want.
I'm wondering what he was doing hanging out with football players when he was a 4F draft dodger due to bone spurs. Bone spurs in his foot. that were so excruciatingly painful that he could not serve in Vietnam when his number came up. When a reporter asked him, excruciating, yes, awful, awful bone spurs in my foot. Not both foots. The record says just one. Bone spurs so painful that he could not serve in Vietnam. Awful, excruciating bone spurs. Oh, which foot? I can't remember. You can't what? You can't remember which foot you had bone spurs in that were so excruciatingly painful that you couldn't serve in Vietnam when you were drafted? Other men your age went to Vietnam and many didn't come home, and several 100,000 did come home and had to deal with so much pain and grief that they committed suicide. And you, who say you had more experience than most in the military because you went to a military boarding school in high school, can't remember which foot? You, who say that the 70s and 80s were your, quote, personal Vietnam because you were sleeping around so much that it was hard to avoid STDs? That was your personal Vietnam? Sir, I don't think you know what Vietnam was about. If avoiding STDs by sleeping around with, using your words, not mine, other men's wives, if that is your personal Vietnam, I don't think you understand what Vietnam's about. And for you to avoid a debate because you were going to get trounced and then say, I'll raise money for the veterans on that one day. Have you had a veterans fundraiser since then? No. You clowned the veterans. You're worse than the Wounded Warrior Project, taking all that money that good, honest, decent people gave to the Wounded Warriors and using it for private jet travel and all sorts of other overhead. You're worse than them. For you not to have distributed the money that other people gave at your veterans event so that you could avoid a debate. For you not to have distributed that money within 30 days. For you to require that that money go into your charitable account and not directly to the veterans' charities. What an evil, despicable person. And it may not make any of you happy to hear me say this. But as bad as Donald Trump is, he is exactly who we know he is. His words are out there. When Megyn Kelly asked him, hey, what about these tough statements you've made, ugly things you've said to women? Since then, he has responded by calling her a bimbo, a bleeder, and all sorts of other terms. You don't have a hair on your ass if you can stand by and say, well, at least he ain't an establishment, Michael. At least he ain't never been elected before. What do you stand for?